Welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Loudmouth Luke, and today we have a special guest, my classmate and good friend, Cody Daniels. How you doing today, Cody?
Good, man. Good to be here.
Today we are taking a look at a very divisive album, to say the least. Today we are taking a look at Linkin Park's sixth studio album, One More Light, which was released in 2017. This one for me was really, I feel like in general, it's very difficult to talk about for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it was the first album, or the last album they made before Chester Bennington passed away shortly after this was released. It was also a huge departure in sound from their previous work, especially their last album, The Hunting Party. They're one of my favorite bands, and they have been since I was like 12. And I actually remember when this album came out. This is gonna make you feel old. I was 13 when this came out.
I was probably more like 22.
Yeah, I
23.
I was about to be a freshman in high school when this came out.
Yeah, I was a little bit older than that.
I think since this album came out, a lot of people have kind of come around to it. But with that being said, before we actually get into it, I do think some of the critiques this album gets are valid, but I don't think it's to the extent that it was, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, for sure, man. I really enjoyed this album. I really think that they were able to like show off their robust songwriting skills in this album. What I really liked about it, it was a lot different than any other Linkin Park album that I'd ever listened to. You know, especially growing up in the times of like Hybrid Theory, and growing up with Linkin Park, it really just kind of like showed that they could go outside of that '90s alt rock like angsty vibe that they came out with on the scene. And it really just showed that they were actually talented individuals that understood song structure and, you know, could write different songs. I liked the album. I think that, you know, the energy that was meant to go into the promotion of the album really just, you know, got zapped away when the tragedy of Chester, you know, happened. And so I really don't think it got promoted like it should have been. I personally think this is one of the most underrated Linkin Park albums there are. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So.
I don't know if you remembered, for the release cycle, Mike and Chester actually went on a bunch of like YouTube channels. They were on Good Mythical Morning. They were on like the Kids React.
Yeah.
So I think that was a kind of a genius way for them to market it. And also another fun thing about it is they posted a lot of the production stuff while they were making the album shortly before it released. But we'll get into all that in a second.
Sure.
With all that being said, this is One More Light. Track number 1, Nobody Can Save Me. I like this one, and I think it's a good start, although I do feel like it shows kind of the biggest weakness of the album, which is the instrumentation. And not that it's bad necessarily, I just feel like it kind of lacks personality, if that makes sense.
Sure. It's very sample heavy, very synth heavy.
Well, it's kind of like, for me, I don't know if you've listened to Living Things or A Thousand Suns, which was their like electronica albums. That was a departure in sound, but it still felt like Linkin Park to me. I still felt the personality in it, and I feel like for the most part, that's not really here. Now, with all that being said, I don't necessarily have an issue with an artist changing their sound. I think there's tons of examples of that working. Sure. I only care if it's good. Like I think bands like Bring Me the Horizon, Paramore, they've changed their sound drastically and still made stuff that I felt like was captivating. There was passion behind it, and there was effort.
Sure.
And I think for the most part, that's the case here, but I don't know. Something about it just doesn't scratch my brain the way I feel like it should.
Sure, I totally get that. I mean, like you said, like they had already pretty much hit the scene with some electronica music before this, but you know, the difference between that is like, as you said, that last one before this had that vibe of Linkin Park still. And this was more of like moving in a direction of, it was poppier than the last album.
Yeah.
It was poppier than any of their other albums, but I really liked it. I really liked the song because I think it does a great job setting the tone for the album.
I agree.
I love how the song progresses that from the first verse all the way into the second verse. Like it moves from that, you know, just a quiet instrumentals, and then it really goes into that really catchy chorus. And then when it hits you with the second verse, all the instrumentals come in, you know, and it just really helped me to... It sets the tone for the whole album, which is like a very feel-good music with some very like more sad lyrics or heavier lyrics throughout the entire album.
I will say something I do like about the writing here, which I do agree is one of the stronger parts. So, like, for me, it kind of cancels out my issue with the instrumentation for the most part. There's one song where it doesn't, which we'll get to that later. But I like that the lyrics are a lot more, despite being kind of sad, a lot more optimistic, if that makes sense. It's more like about acceptance. Like most Linkin Park songs, I think, are about feelings of depression, grief, anger. And these songs are like, I'm feeling these emotions and that's okay.
Right. And not only that, but like, I feel like, which, this may be ironic, but I just felt like, the tone was set in that I felt after listening to this song that I was encouraged to be able to fight my battles. And not only could I fight my battles, but I could win against the battles that I was fighting. Were these forces that were against me in my life. And I got a really positive tone or a feel after I listened to the first song. And that really much stayed with me throughout the whole album. I just felt encouraged through the whole thing.
I especially like the line, I've been searching somewhere out there for something that's always been right here. I think that's a great line, and that's something I relate to a lot, is I'm always searching for answers that were always kind of there myself, And yeah, I think it's a pretty good start. I will say some of the lines in the verses are a little haunting, knowing that Chester would pass away a couple months after this album released.
Right.
I think there's a lot of their songs that have that, but I don't. I could go on a whole rant about why people need to stop doing conspiracy theory stuff about his death, because I think it's really tasteless and disrespectful. But that's a rant for another day.
Right.
Track number 2 is Good Goodbye, and this is one of the weaker ones in my opinion. I used to really like it, but again, I feel like this instrumental does not fit the vibe of the lyrics whatsoever.
Sure. I mean, I like the flow, and it is what it is. I think it was just, there to be, I guess you would call that a single.
Yeah.
One of the singles off the album that they were really going to promote and push and try to get on, radio stations and stuff like that, and get, some promotion going with that. I think it was what it was. They guest featured like 2 different artists that came on and did some rapping on both of those verses.
Which I feel like Pusha T's verse is so disappointing. It just feels so last minute tacked on.
It does.
And it sucks too, because Pusha is a great rapper. He's a great lyricist. Yeah. And it's also, I don't know if you've ever heard, Mike has a second verse in the live version of this song.
No, I haven't.
In which Mike's verse is also, for me, kind of underwhelming here, because it feels like very autopilot-y, if that makes sense.
Facts. I feel like he starts to take off, and then right when he's about to really start getting into it, then the verse is over.
Because I don't know if you've listened to any of his like solo stuff or many of the tracks where it's like just him the whole song.
Yeah, he's very talented. Good at what he does.
I do love the line, "Enemies trying to read me, you're all looking highly illiterate." I think that's really clever. But there's some other songs that they've done where it's just him rapping, like When They Come For Me off 1,000 Suns and High Voltage and Step Up, which show a lot of his capabilities as a rapper. I feel like he never really got the credit he deserved.
Right.
And like I mentioned, Pusha T's verse is so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of cool though. I didn't know that he actually did. So he does. I guess when they play that live, he does all the verses.
Well,
so does he have different verses that?
Yeah, there's a second one that goes like live from the Genesis, something about excellence. Yeah, it's like a whole nother verse.
But it isn't what the other artists had written for that.
No.
Okay.
Cool. Stormzy's okay. He actually feels a lot more natural on here. As kind of cheesy as this line is, I do love linking things in Park. Now I got a tune with Linkin Park. I haven't really listened to any of his solo stuff. Bro is British.
Neither have I. He is very British. And that can cause a little bit of a dis-ease in your ears.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love British people, I promise.
No, I do too. I love it. It's just, it was a little, the timing of the flow was something I had to get used to, but it wasn't bad,
Yeah, I feel like if this song had a more like 90s boom bappy kind of beat to it, I think it would probably work a lot more, because one of the things that I feel like this album lacks is a lot of the songs are a little mellow. A lot of the songs don't really have a lot of energy, which is fine. Linkin Park's done chill songs before that are like phenomenal. But I feel like with a track like this, it needs like some kind of like energy,
Sure.
And
that was actually my biggest thing with the entire album in its entirety. So at the end of listening to it through an analytic lens, I wanted, I had mostly strengths, that I had listed, but I wanted to come up with some weaknesses, and that is one of the things that I listed, is that it just felt like that throughout the entire album. It just felt like conceptually these songs were a great idea, and I could see what they were going for, and I could see what they were supposed to be. It just felt like not enough time and energy went into actually developing the songs into like the ideas that I could tell that they had in their minds when they wrote them.
Also, this is maybe just me. I feel like the chorus kind of has nothing to do with the actual verses,
Yeah. Case in point. Yeah.
And up next we have Talking to Myself, which is one of my personal favorites from this album. I feel like my energy critique I have, this is here. It feels like a very solid middle ground from an instrumental standpoint.
Yeah. It really makes you nod your head, especially during the chorus, and plus the lyrics are really relatable.
It's also just nice to hear guitar on a Linkin Park album. I never thought I would say that, but because like Brad Delson, some of the riffs on their songs are pretty killer.
Yeah, I like the guitar line in the background during the chorus right there. So it kind of drives the beat. The song feels like an anthem, really. And
I also, like you said, I really relate to the lyrical content of just constantly being in my head.
Right, and there are a lot, again, this song continues with the running theme of, super light vibes on the music and heavy lyrics. Even the songs that are meant to be just like pushed out as like a catchy, sing-along thing, they're pretty heavy throughout the entire album.
That's one of my favorite things about this band is like most of their lyrics are very forward. There's not a lot of symbolism, but I think the way Chester sings it and the way Mike writes, it makes me feel it, in a way that but yeah, I think this one's pretty solid. And up next we have Battle Symphony, which is another one I really like.
My personal favorite.
Which it's one I feel like I shouldn't, because again, like that weird like chipmunk voice thing in the instrumental is something I normally don't like in songs. Yeah. Like a case in point of that is Fall Out Boy's Young and Menace.
Oh yeah.
Which for the record, I don't think the breakdown here is as annoying as that, but we're not reviewing Mania, so that's a topic for another day.
Yeah, you might get mad at me for saying this, but I definitely think the difference is that I feel like Linkin Park was a lot more volatile than Fall Out Boy. I love Fall Out Boy too. Don't get me wrong. I think that they sound better with their like distorted guitars and doing the.
Have you listened to Stardust? Their newest album that came out a couple years ago.
I didn't.
Definitely do. That's a very solid like middle ground.
Sure.
Anyways, I mentioned my issue with the instrumentation, but like I mentioned, I really like it here. I don't know why. It just kind of works for me.
Sure.
And again, I think the songwriting here is fantastic.
I agree. It's another synth-heavy, very sample-heavy song, but it like really hooks you in right from the beginning with good vibes before it hits you with such a heavy lyrical value, especially in the chorus. It's got a super catchy refrain created from another hook that left me wishing that the harmony was more prevalent. I call it a ghost harmony because it makes you feel like there should be a harmony right there, a third harmony on that hook line, but there's not. If you go back and listen to it, the track isn't there until the very last chorus, but I guess that really just adds to the progressiveness of the songs and the idea that they were going for.
And like I mentioned with Nobody Can Save Me, I like the optimistic feeling in the lyrics of, my scars make me stronger, I'm going to get back up and try again, where a lot of their other stuff is just like, I'm depressed or I'm angry.
Sure.
Which, to be fair, I love those songs, make no mistake. But
love them too.
I like that this is kind of, even though, again, I think the sound is a big critique I have, I think lyrically, a lot of the writing is it's a lot more mature. You can tell they've really grown up when they were writing this album.
Absolutely.
Because, they all have like kids now. They were all like... which is a theme on this album we will get to later.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to that. That's in my notes. I was wondering I know what song you're talking about. I didn't know if he was talking about an old lover or if he was talking about his kids, but we'll get to that song, I guess.
Which is one of the next ones, Invisible. I accidentally typed Invincible. This is one of my favorites. I love Mike's singing voice. He has such a good voice, and I'm so glad on a lot of their later stuff he did more than just rap and play like the rhythm guitar. Because I don't know if you've heard some of the songs on like Minutes to Midnight or 1,000 Suns where he got to be a lead vocalist. He sounds great, and
he does, and he does it a few times in this album.
And lyrically, this one is intended. I looked in the Linkin Park subreddit. I always like going into Reddits to find meanings of songs and stuff. This one is meant as an open letter to his kids he's like, you know, while I'm out on tour, I'm out recording, I'm still thinking about you. I still really care about you.
Sure.
And I love it. I think it's a really sweet song.
Yeah, and that's cool that before I even knew that, I got that vibe. You know, I think, you know, I love the major and the minor shift in the chorus structure before the second pre-chorus. It kind of just shifts the vibe very subtly and gets you ready for that second chorus. But it's not my favorite track, but it's not bad by any means. I like how it was, you know, speaking to his kids, and I think that, you know, more artists should do that.
Up next, we have Heavy, and this is another one I really like.
I love it too. Love it too.
I think the writing, again, is very strong. I think, again, there's a theme of just letting go of your pain. And I think that's really shown in this song in particular. And again, a lot of the lines of like, I drive myself crazy thinking everything's about me. I'm always in my head. But something about this anxiety makes me feel like comfortable. And that's another thing I've really related to, especially growing up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everyone can relate to this. And, you know, it's so catchy. Like if I had to have a pick for, you know, if I were there, you know, if I was a PR specialist for Linkin Park's team, this is the song I would have picked to release as the single.
I think this was the lead single.
Yeah, and that makes sense because this is a really good song. I think they, you know, chose a really good partner to do the duet with. Their voices were very compatible. You know, it was just so catchy that there's holding on. Why is everything so heavy?
Have you heard, they played this song live a couple times where it was just Mike with a piano.
Oh, I've never heard that,
And
but I bet it sounds
I
good.
actually like it more than this version. I think some of these songs for me would have worked a lot better acoustically. But that's not just to say that I dislike this song by any means.
Oh, totally agree. And here's the thing. These songs probably started out on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because I think a lot of times, like, they'll just be hanging out in the studio. Well, that's how a lot of people write, is they'll just be, like, strumming some chords, and then they'll be like, hold on a minute, you know?
Absolutely. I would go, you know, I have no idea how grounded in reality this is, but I would go as far as to say is that most of this album was probably theorized and conceptualized on an acoustic guitar. And, you know, they just had this direction that they wanted to move in with it. And they probably, you know, got with whoever produced this album and just made it really synth heavy.
Another favorite part of this song is that I think they chose Kiara because one of Mike or Chester's kids was listening to them. And then when they called her, she's like, I'm such a huge fan. I'd love to do it.
That's cool.
That's another story. I think that's another cool thing too is about this album is like, again, it's kind of like indirectly about their legacy in a way.
Sure.
And how their music has impacted even artists of today.
It really has. And I think this album has so much potential for impact on somebody's heart. They just give it a chance. I just don't think enough people have had the opportunity to give it a chance.
I think another thing too, and this is another thing that bothers me, is a lot of people kind of rewrote history about a lot of their later work. A lot of people hated these albums when they came out.
Right.
Because of how huge of a departure they were in sound.
I didn't.
But it was like, for me, I'm always like, I would rather you change your sound and be genuine than just make the same thing over and over again just to appeal to people who probably weren't really your fans to begin with.
I completely agree with you, and I would say that there are a lot of people that are out there right now, and I won't single any artists out because, you know, it's hard already trying to be an artist in today's age, you know, and try to make a living doing it. But, you know, so I'm not harping on anybody, but I feel like a lot of people do just do that. They come out with exactly what, you know, what people want to hear from them. They try to make their second album again and turn it into something different but the same, and it just doesn't work out.
I just wish a lot of bands I liked would stop trying to sound like Imagine Dragons and Nickelback.
I completely agree.
Anyways, up next we have Sorry for Now, and this is, I think, the only song on this album I outwardly dislike. And I want to like it. That's the worst part. It's got very similar themes to Invisible, and I want to like it because of that. But then there's that nightcore thing in the chorus, and it's annoying, and it's jarring, and it slows the song down. And I'm just like, why do this?
Okay, so this is actually the song that I thought for a minute might have been written to his kids. So this is not the one that was written to his kids.
Well, I mean, Invisible and Sorry for Now, I think both were.
Oh, okay,
I think
cool.
the framing is just a little different.
Sure.
I think it's also written to his wife too, because again, he's always out on the road, always out recording, because that's his job essentially. And it's like, that's another thing, even if it's not in this way, I think a lot of, especially parents, can relate to wanting to spend time with your kids, but you have to make sure your house is afloat and stuff. And
sure, that's a running theme too in a lot of good music. There's a song called Miles Away by, excuse me. God, I'm having a brain fart, but I love that song.
And it's just, again, I want to like it, but there's just that weird, like, da, 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 da. It sounds like the Rugrats theme.
Yeah, but was that Mike again? In the verse?
Yeah, Mike's doing the verses, and then Chester does the bridge.
Right.
Which, that part just sounds really cool. I don't know what it is. It just scratches my brain. I really like it. That man was like King Midas. Sure.
Yeah, no, Chester was one of the best vocalists that I've, ever seen in mainstream music.
Personal bias though, he's like my favorite vocalist of all time.
Sure.
But I think objectively, for a frontman, he's at least like top 15.
Yeah. Oh, I would completely agree with you on that.
In my personal ranking, he's like top 3, but that's just me because I love this band so much.
Sure.
But, up next we have Halfway Right, and this is one that isn't really a highlight, but with that being said, I do enjoy it.
Yeah, I like how the song started with a condensed version of the chorus. I like how it comes full circle too and kind of just ends the way it started. The arrangement of the songs at this point has really just taken on a reminiscent road, forcing us to feel these emotions we haven't felt in a long time.
Yeah.
Especially like, somebody that's kind of grown up with them a little bit and gone through my own stuff, over the years. The songs just kind of take us on a journey. It just kind of feels like we could just cruise with the windows down and the top down and just feel the emotions that we've been afraid to feel for so long.
And this song in particular, especially in the first verse, is about Chester reflecting on his past and a lot of the stuff he had to deal with growing up. He's like, I made a lot of bad decisions, but I should have just slowed down and just done me.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's another theme I think we can relate to. I mean, we all are just like driving one day. It's like, man, I really shouldn't have done that dumb thing when I was like 15.
For sure.
Or, I mean, in the case of Chester Bennington, he went through a lot growing up. So it's probably not just a dumb thing,
Right.
But like,
absolutely.
I do relate that feeling of just like, man, I wish I could have done things differently. And yeah, I mean, this one is good. It's not really a highlight. I think it's solid, but it's not really a highlight. The next song is a highlight, the title track. Mm-hmm. This song makes me cry. It is so beautiful. Mm-hmm. I kind of wish the rest of the album sounded like this.
Yeah.
A lot more like stripped and laid back.
I agree. It felt super heavy, especially in the context of the tragedy of Chester's death.
Yeah, which there is a misconception about this song. This isn't about losing someone to suicide. I think it was written about someone in the band knew that was battling cancer and then passed away. Either way, I think it can apply either.
Absolutely.
It can apply either way of just like, man, it stings to lose someone.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you can feel that in this song. The lyrics are beautiful. The melody is beautiful. It just, it kind of just feels like it, it gave me that vibe though, just the way that the song like moves from the second chorus into like the bridgey thing that happens, and then again with the last chorus, like it just feels like it didn't finish developing. Like it just feels like I wanted it to like build up more and then climax into this thing that it never did.
But I also think it works in that way of just like of how hard that like grief is hitting you,
Yeah, I totally get it.
The last song of the album is kind of a weird one for me, which is Sharp Edges.
I like it.
It sounds a little too country-ish for me.
It's definitely got the folky vibes.
Which I don't have an issue with inherently. I don't know if I would have made this the last song on the album.
But yeah, it was odd.
I do think that like from a thematic standpoint, I think it works really well in the sense of it kind of like the lyrics just sum it up perfectly. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We all fall down.
Sure, and we got some more guitar too.
Yeah. Not really in the way I would have wanted, but I mean, hey, a win is a win.
Yeah, guitar's a guitar. I like the thriving of the kick drum too in the chorus. It just felt like this is a super interesting way to end with a song so different from all the other songs on an album that sounds so very different than any of their other albums too. So
yeah, and I don't think it's bad. Again, I just wouldn't have made this the last song of the album. If I were to like rearrange the track listing, I probably would have put it somewhere near like the middle.
Sure. What would you have ended with?
One More Light, the title track.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that is just such a good conclusion. to everything. But yeah, I mean, that was One More Light. One More Light is a very weird album for me. I think the writing is mostly really solid, but I just feel like this instrumental style doesn't really work with a lot of the songs they were trying to write for the most part. I just feel like, again, it was weird, but like I could respect them for trying something new, you know, and not in a way that felt like desperate to get another hit, you know?
Oh yeah, no, I don't sense desperation anywhere. I sense exploration. I feel like they were branching out, trying to explore an area that they enjoy exploring. And that wasn't bad, you know what I mean? Like I said, I enjoy this album. I enjoy the way it makes me feel listening to it. I think the songs, like I said before, conceptually are just really great ideas. I just think that, you know, they could have been, you know, developed a little bit further into, you know, so that they could mature into what I think I know what they wanted them to be, you know, and I could be wrong about that.
It's also worth noting.
It's just what I feel.
Oh, sorry. It's also worth noting, too, that there was a scrapped song from this album called Friendly Fire. I don't know if you've heard this one.
Haven't. Nope.
It is incredible, and it blows my mind that it got scrapped.
I'll check it out.
It's very good. I probably would have swapped, like, Sorry For Now or Sharp Edges out with this song. That's how good it is.
By the way, that band I was thinking about was Memphis Mayfire.
Okay,
the song
noted.
Miles Away.
With all that being said, I'd give One More Light a 6.5 out of 10. I think it's their weakest album, but it still has a lot of really solid moments that kind of make me appreciate it. I just felt like overall it was a project that was very misguided, but I do appreciate the sincerity of it.
Sure. That, man, I didn't know we were going to have to rate it. Dude, that's hard. I'd probably give it a 7.
Okay.
And part of me wants to give it more than that, but I'm also trying to remember, like, I know what a 10 is.
Right.
And yeah, you know, it's definitely that far away from a 10, but I wouldn't give it anything worse than a 7 because it is what it is, and I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
I enjoy listening to it, and that won't be the last time I listen to it. I definitely pulled this album up a couple times since it released, and
I think
give it
like
a 7.
I made a best of Linkin Park playlist because they're like my third favorite band.
Sure.
A lot of these songs I wouldn't really seek out in comparison to a lot of their other stuff, but again, I think there are some really solid moments also. I mean, One More Light makes me cry, so I don't really listen to that one often.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's not a bad project by any means. I just feel like a lot of their other catalog just kind of leaves more of an impact on me.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, and I would say the same. You know, obviously, just because of what Hybrid Theory was to me when I was growing up, obviously I have more of an emotional connection with that, just because I was an angsty teenager when that came out, listening to that. But, you know, I wish Linkin Park the best of luck. I'm proud that they've decided to move on and move forward with the band, and that, you know, the tragedy that the band has gone through, and that wasn't the first time that the band has dealt with tragedy or dealt with hard things, you know what I mean? And I'm just very proud of them for moving forward and continuing to make music for the people that love their band and for their love of the music. And I wish them the best of luck. And I'm really proud of the band.
Have you listened to From Zero yet? Their newest album with the new lineup?
I have not yet.
It's kind of without like.
I'm scared too.
I understand why. I would say it's kind of a middle ground. It's a little bit of everything.
Right.
It's underwhelming for a comeback album, but I think as a project, it's pretty solid.
Sure.
And Emily Armstrong, I think, is a great fit. I'm glad they didn't get a sound alike. I'm so happy.
I am too.
Because I feel like in this case, it would have just been so tasteless for them to do that.
Agreed.
But it's a good project. I'd say I would put From Zero slightly above One More Light. I feel like in some ways it is also a little misguided. But again, I think it's just them kind of getting back into the swing of things, knowing they were gone for almost 10 years.
Yeah, who knows? And they might put something else out next year that just blows people's minds. You know, like you said, they've got to find their niche. They got to find their little comfort zone with the new singer. And you know, who knows what's in store for them in the future? I hope good things.
Well, regardless, thank you for being on the show, Cody.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. This was fun.
Well, that wraps up another episode of For the Record. If anyone wants to request an album for me to review, my email is lukeeboyer03@gmail.com, or you can message me on Instagram at loudmouthluke03. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you have a great night.